Okay, now we got our piece all set up. So again, we have this set up here. Got our tape all around, get it as flat as possible, get it ready to go. You can come in with that nice hard surface and just go to town. You can start doing your drawing. Like I said, you can use really anything that you want. My preference is mechanical pencil. That's just me. But just come in with just some graphite. Don't be afraid to come in and just draw over top. I mean, that's not a problem at all. You just come in. I mean, you can do your shapes. You can crosshatch. You can do however you want. Over top with this. Don't be afraid to come in and just draw it out. And again, what I'm basically showing you here are just some beginning techniques, just some beginning setup, just some of the things that you need to think about when you're starting and really diving into your Scratchboard piece. Don't be afraid, come in and use the eraser. You're not going to hurt anything with that. Later on you can come back over top if you feel like, some of this is rubbed off. You don't think it's dark enough. You do have, other options here available as well. There's a lot of things you can add to your arsenal that can really make your Scratchboard pop, especially later on. So again, don't be afraid to come down in here, work with it. When you come in, you start scratching this off, all that pencil is going to go away. But you really want to focus on, because you're kind of working backwards here. You're not going from light to dark. You're going from dark to light. So you're really working with lights first. You're really thinking sort of the opposite. It forces you to think differently, which is one of the appeals that I have with Scratchboard. So you want to think about that. So whatever you're putting down here, for your pencil, consider that your white. And you just want to fade that in, or however you need to do it. And then the cross-hatching techniques are what's really going to give you the gradients all the way across, especially with Scratchboard in general. With Clayboard, you can be a little bit more fine with it, and I can show you a little bit of that as time goes on. But for Scratchboard here, you just want to come in and make sure that you have your white highlights exactly where you want them, because that's what you're going to be scratching off. So just keep all that in mind. When you go to do the scratching in general, there's a bunch of different scratching materials that you can use. Different knives, curved knives, ones with different arcs to them, different angles. You can come in and do that. There's a whole bunch of sets that you can buy for Scratchboard. I try to keep it simple myself, so I just use regular old, like an SOS type pad, just like that. Just some Scotch-Brite, some Scotch pad, steel wool, basically. You can use any grates that you want, any size, any thickness that you want. You may want to play around with that. I'll use pretty much any size at this point. This is a medium tooth, and you can come in with it and you can create your own little gradients right off the bat. You don't need a knife. You don't need any other fancy tools. You just come in and you let the steel wool do its job. So this is the technique that I use the most. This is what I rely on the most. I love using this mixed in with my pins. So then I come back over top, and I like to use just a typical Bic pin. It tends to hold up better. A lot of the other pins, they tend to fail. So you can come in and you can work with that. Some of the dead pins, like this pin here is dead, you can actually use it as a knife to go over top. So that makes it nice too. It'll extend a lot of that out. And then if you want to come back in and add some black to it as well, then you can do that. And then you start really building in your gradients over top. And you can work with that. You can play with that back and forth. So just come in here just like so. Okay, so I filled it back in just a little bit. If there's something that I overdo, I just come back in with the steel wool, and I can just clean that right off. So I think this combo for me, I think works the best. You may have to experiment with your own stuff. Experiment with the kits. I've been through them all. I've been through all the knives, the X-Acto knives, any type of kit that you can think of here with the different types of blades and stuff. But this for me works the best. It gives me the better gradients. If you look in through here, as you can see, steel wool down in through here. Come back over top of the big pen, and you can get some nice gradients in through there. You can get some nice textures with it, especially up here in the water. You can see where I can really pull out some nice water with just this little piece. So you just come across, and you can really pull out some nice stuff with it. Then come back over top with your pen, and you can fill in some of those areas, and you can work back and forth that way. So for me, it's all about simplicity. I'm very practical, and these are very practical tools for me. You don't need a lot of stuff to do it. And a lot of people get intimidated by Scratchboard. You can't let it intimidate you. The other option that I do like, if you really have these stubborn areas and you want to get something down fast, is an electric eraser. So you can come in and you can really work out different line works that way. You come in, you can add some different lines that way. Especially with some stubborn areas, if you really want to get something white, this is a very good option as well. Just be careful, you don't want to overdo it. You can start ripping up your paper. It works really good on clayboard as well, but you just want to use it sparingly. I kind of use it as a last resort if I desperately need to. And then when you come down to the end, like I said before, you can use these markers just over top. You can even use one of these pins as well. And you can come over top and you can shape that way too. What you need to remember with these is these are also like a last resort. This is sort of a finalized sort of thing, like at the end of your piece when you really want something dark. You want to make sure that you use this last, because this is a little harder to scrape off. Especially when it dries, sometimes it doesn't want to scrape like it's supposed to. So just make sure, like I said, these here you want to use sparingly for last. But these are just the basic utensils that I use. Nothing exciting. I love just using my big pens. Come over with a Sharpie. You can use a steel wool to cut away. You got your eraser as well. Just some basic tools, and you can have a nice finished piece, something similar to my wheel shark. I even got pulled out some nice stuff with my forest. And so I did a lot of that in here with the steel wool. So, 90% is the prep. That also includes your materials as well.